All right. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're tuning in from. Welcome to this week's mobile coaching session. My name is Patrick France, Senior Instructor here at VectorVest. Glad to be with you guys. If you guys can hear me out there, type in VV Nation into the chat. Let's get that going here this morning, bright and early. So we should be live both on Facebook and on YouTube. If you're just tuning in, while you're getting in here, make sure as always, smash that like button to show your support for the stream. And especially if you want to see these streams continue. The more support that helps us out with the YouTube algorithms and continues to grow this awesome community. So welcome everybody. Hopefully everyone is doing well. Good morning, Drew. There we go. So looks like YouTube is doing good. Let's go check the Facebook side here. Facebook side seems to be working as well. So awesome. Good morning, Kobe. Once again, good morning, Drew. VV Nation. There we go. Seeing the VV Nation showing up in the chat. So for anybody tuning in for the very first time, first and foremost, welcome. This is our weekly coaching session that we do both on Facebook and on YouTube, where we talk about the VectorVest Stock Advisory app, by far the most comprehensive trading app to help you manage your portfolio. The way we do things typically here is we start to take a look at what's going on in the market here today. Then we'll dive into our topic of discussion. And then as always, if you want to see how easy it is to analyze your own stocks using the Stock Advisory app, make sure to stick around towards the very end and we'll analyze any stock that you want to take a look at in less than 10 seconds. So if that's what you're looking for, make sure to stick around towards the end. And seeing a lot of VV Nation showing up. What's going on, Keaton, Roger, Manju? Hopefully you guys are doing well. Good morning from rainy Arizona. Well, hopefully you're staying dry and staying inside. Hey, always my pleasure, Chris. Glad you're here today. Okay, so once again, wow, we got a lot of people in here. If you're new, make sure to show your support for the channel by hitting that thumbs up button right at the bottom here. All that helps us out and doesn't cost you a thing and helps us grow this awesome community once again. Alberto tuning in from Miami. How's it going, Alberto? Lola, love the name there. VV Nation New Jersey, tuning in from New Jersey. Welcome, Chris. Mandip, tuning in from Texas. Hopefully you're doing well today. Hopefully everybody's having a good morning, getting their day started, ready to go. We've had a pretty good market the last few days, the last few weeks. So today what we're going to be looking at here is looking for stocks that, are just starting to participate or, are just starting to get confirmation of that uptrend, since we did get that official confirmed up call just a few days ago. And if you're new or not familiar with the VectorVest system, by the time we get that confirmed up call, that is our last signal we give our subscribers to tell them it's time to start getting into the market if you haven't done so already. So it's by far our most conservative timing signal. So to go off of that, what we're going to do is looking for stocks that are just hitting that buy rating. So that way, we get confirmation that they're also participating in the market and they're moving higher as well. So welcome everybody. I'm seeing a lot of new faces in here. Glad to have you all here. Hopefully you guys are all having a great day so far. So as always, let's start off, jump into the software, and we can see the major indices are down a little bit here right now this morning, with the Dow being down about 1/3%, the NASDAQ also down about 1/3%, S&P down about 1/4, and then looking at the VectorVest composite, it's down about 0.2% so far. So that market action has pushed our needle 3 ticks into the yellow. Therefore, the color guard is neutral, and VectorVest advocates caution when buying stocks at this time. Tapan, welcome Tapan. Hopefully you're doing well here this morning. All right, so good morning. Seeing Darren, Harold, Patrick, love the name. Mark, glad to have you here this morning. Cairo or Ciro, Brady, Chuck, Camille, Harold, Mike, Nina, Big, welcome everybody. Hopefully you guys are all doing well. All right. So getting back into it, we have those 3 yellow lights across the board. And as we talk about, that market timing gauge always gets its colors from the top row of lights in the color guard here. Now the color guard analyzes the trends of 3 of the components of our market timing system, and we analyze those components based upon their movement. What I mean by that is we're looking not only at just their daily movement, but also how that movement compares to the prior day and how it compares to a week earlier as well. So as we can see here, we do have a yellow light currently, but we are still higher than we were compared to 5 trading days earlier, but we're lower than where we were from yesterday. So therefore that price column is going to be yellow currently. Looking at the RT, since we're flat on a day over day basis, but still higher on a week over week basis, we have a yellow light there. And if we move higher here in the markets today, we've had some big up days the last couple of days. So if the markets continue to move higher, then we could see the RT start to pick up, which once again, if you're not familiar with it, the RT is the short-term price trend of the overall market. And it's cast on a scale of 0 to 2, and above 1 tells us the short-term trend of the market is up. Below 1, the short-term trend of the market is down. So RT has been below that level of 1 for quite some time, and now we're finally starting to see it break above that level of 1, telling us that the short-term trend of the market is finally starting to pick back up. Also, Brian Cameron, welcome to the VV Nation. Glad to have you here this morning. And so after that, the next indicator we're going to look at is the BSR, or the buy to sell ratio. Now, the buy to sell ratio is looking at the number of buy rated stocks compared to the number of sell rated stocks. If you're not familiar with VectorVest, we give a buy, hold, and sell rating on every single stock every single day. And we analyze that ratio between the buys and sells to get an idea on the overall market strength. So if there's more buys and sells in a database, the buy to sell ratio is going to be above 1, as it is now at 1.51, and that indicates overall market strength here. Whereas if it was below 1 or indicating more sells than buys, that would identify overall market weakness. So you want to see it above 1 because that tells us more stocks are participating, and so that puts the probability on your side of being able to make money in the market. Because if you have more stocks participating in the market, that means the higher the probability of the stocks that you're getting into are going to be moving higher along with the market as well. So after the buy to sell ratio, we then get to the MTI, or the market timing indicator. Now, this is going to be cast on a scale of 0 to 2, and it's looking at the underlying trend of the market. So if it's above 1, underlying trend of the market is up. And as we can see, we have been moving higher, telling us the underlying trend has been strengthening and moving higher over the last week. Also, more so over the last few weeks as well. And after that, we then get the trend column. And as always, we show 2 parts of the trend each and every day. The first part is referring to the primary wave, which is the most aggressive timing signal here at VectorVest. It's going to be looking at the short-term or simply weekly trend of the market. As we can see, it is up since the price of the VectorVest composite is higher than where it was compared to 5 trading days earlier. The second part is looking at the MTI, and since the MTI is above 1, the underlying trend of the market is also up as well. And then last but not least, that calls column, which is something we mentioned just a little bit ago. The calls column is looking at our confirmed calls, and they're our most conservative timing system here at VectorVest. They're our last signal we get to get into the market and our last signal we get to get out. Therefore, we never want to ignore a confirmed call change. And as we can see, we did get a confirmed up call as of the 29th of July and remain in that signal as of today. Sed is asking, what is the difference between the advance to declines and the buy to sell ratio? So the advance to declines, which we're going to look at right here at the bottom, is comparing to the prior day, looking for the number of stocks moving higher compared to the prior day, or the number of stocks moving lower compared to the prior day, or stocks that are unchanged. The buy to sell ratio is looking at the rating that we give a stock. So we track about 9,200 stocks out there currently in the US markets alone. And once again, every single day we give a buy, hold, or sell rating, all based upon strict rules, not personal opinions. And so therefore, it's looking at those ratings, not just whether or not the stock's moving higher or lower compared to the prior day. Eric, welcome to the VV Nation. Seeing a lot of new subscribers here. Eric, again, welcome to VV Nation. Glad to have you guys here. How and where can I buy Bitcoin? With a decentralized broker or platform or Coinbase or any of those. Make sure to do your research. Look for ones that fit you the best though. Yeah, you can buy it right there. All right, so looking at the advanced declines though, what we can see is we have 44% of stocks moving higher today and about 43% of stocks moving lower for the day. Therefore, pretty much a 1-to-1 ratio right now. And when we're looking for days to buy, this is a pro tip we always talk about here in our sessions. If we're looking for a good day to be buying, we typically want to see twice as many stocks advancing than declining. That tells us that, there's a higher probability that the stock we're getting into today is part of that higher advances. So therefore, you're already getting started on the right track, giving you a little bit of cushion room when you enter into the trade. So whenever you're looking for a good day to buy, focus on a 2-to-1 ratio or higher. And right now we're about 1-to-1. So we really aren't meeting that criteria, telling us, if you're really wanting to buy right now, this specific moment, just be patient, wait for a better opportunity to come to you. And then just the opposite would be for a down market as well. If the market's moving lower, you're looking to enter into either a short position or a contra ETF, then look for twice as many stocks than declining than advancing to put the probabilities in your favor. All right, so with that, let's go ahead, take a look at our topic of discussion here today. So once again, we talked about how we got a confirmed up signal as of last week. And so let's go ahead and find the stocks that are starting to move along with that confirmed up signal as of today. So if you go into the side section, we get the stock pick ideas, the premium watch list, or the screener. We're going to go ahead, just jump right into the screener here and go to the featured screens. And scrolling down from the featured screens, we have the new sell rated stocks, which would be for a down market, but also the new buy rated stocks, which are going to be for an up market. As always, if you ever have any questions about what exactly these watch lists or these screens are looking at, you can just simply tap on that little eye to the right, and it gives you a quick synopsis of that specific screen. So if we jump into it, we can see we automatically get a list of stocks, and these are all stocks that are meeting that buy rating as of today, as of the time that we're looking at this. You can see right at the very top, it gives you that time and date, 10:56, because it's streaming on a 15-minute delay. But these are all the stocks that are meeting that criteria right now. And then if you want to ever see, what exactly this screen is looking for, you can just simply tap on the design at the top, and it gives you all the parameters of what this screen is looking for. So it's returning stocks, no surprise there. Using our master indicator VST, bringing the highest VSTs to the top. And the stocks have to be greater than $1, have at least 100,000 minimum average volume. They have no contra ETFs showing up here, and they have to be on a major exchange. Therefore, no penny stocks, no stocks that, are less than a cent or less than $1. So you're getting some decent companies, especially when you use the VST descending sort to help filter out and bring the best candidates to the top here. So looking at it, seeing some interesting names, seeing some stocks that have been beaten up pretty badly over the last few months, all of a sudden starting to come to the top, telling us that a new uptrend is starting to form. So the first one we get to is KLIC. So if you're ever interested in any stock you're looking for, just simply tap on it. And you get a quick snapshot of the 1 year look back at the very top, which we can dive into here in a second. And then right below that though, you get the 4 indicators that you really want to focus on. These indicators allow you to analyze any stock in a matter of seconds. So they're all going to be cast on a scale of 0 to 2. And above 1 is good and below 1 is bad. That's really as hard as you need to make it. So the first one we're looking at is the RV, or relative value, which is looking at the long-term potential of the stock over the next 1 to 3 years. So at 1.64, that tells us we have good long-term potential in this stock over the next 1 to 3 years. The next is the RS rating, or relative safety, which is the amount of risk involved in the stock. So if it's above 1, that tells us there is less risk associated with the stock. Below 1, more risk associated with the stock. So this stock has good long-term potential so far, and it has less risk associated with it. And then the third indicator we look at is the RT, which is more of that technical indicator. So it's looking at the short-term price trend of the stock, and since it's cast on a scale of 0 to 2, above 1, the closer to 2 it is, the stronger the uptrend, and below 1, the closer to 0 it is, the stronger the downtrend. So at 1.39, that tells us this stock's in a pretty decent uptrend currently on a short-term basis. So then the combination of these 3 indicators get comprised on a regular basis to come up with our overall VST rating, giving you a great snapshot of the stock on both a fundamental and a technical basis, all summarized into one. So the VST at 1.40, that tells us this stock is favorable on both a fundamental and a technical basis. So now that we have the analysis down, we can use that information, not having to go through and spend hours upon hours drilling down through data, building spreadsheets on your own, doing all that. No, it summarizes it in 3 simple to understand indicators. So that way you get usable information rather than just a whole bunch of data that you have to try to analyze on your own. So now, if you ever want to take a look at the graph, because as we talk about, whenever buying a stock, you should always look at the graph of a stock. The graph is like a big picture, and like the old saying goes, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And so therefore, just simply tap on it. Let's say we went through the analysis, we liked the analysis. Next step, go through the graph and take a look at it. Well, looking at the graph right now, what we can see is we have a 3 and 8 exponential moving average on the price. I'll go ahead and maximize it here for you guys. We have the rating bar at the top, which red stands for sell, yellow is hold, green is buy. We have the price shown in candlesticks, and then right now I have the MACD at the bottom. If you ever want to change your graphs to fit it exactly how you want, there's a little gear icon in the upper left. You tap on that, it takes you to the settings. You can change your time frames, your frequencies, lines or line graph or candlestick graph. You can add moving averages by tapping on moving averages. You can add up to 3 and customize those here. You can do envelopes, support resistance, and then the lower indicators, you can change it between volume, RT, earnings per share, MACD, RSI, DPO, and a few other things here. So that way you can really set it to fit exactly what you're looking for. Because everybody is different, and some people focus more on longer term investing, some people focus more on shorter term investing, and so you want to make sure your graphs are set up to fit exactly what you're looking for there. Appreciate that, Ninja. All right, so when we look at the graph, on a short-term basis, the stock has been in a steady decline over the last 6 months, but it has been rallying back with the market. The MACD is telling us on a longer-term basis it's now in a longer-term uptrend. Short-term, it's also in an uptrend. You saw it pulling back, kind of consolidating a little bit, and then today's big move has started separating that MACD a little bit here more, telling us that, we're starting to see a new potential run coming in. Now, you could also add volume if you wanted to look at that, or if you're a technical trader, maybe you look at support resistance. You could potentially look at, a resistance level at those highs from that previous high point there on this most recent run, and wait for a breakout. Whatever fits your, fits your personal style. Make sure to incorporate that in your own trading plan. But looking at it, decent update here today. If we can break that level of resistance, that could definitely be an interesting day, or definitely an interesting entry point to jump on board. Now, if we go to the next one, just simply swiping to the right here, D.R. Horton, popular home builder, had a great run up until 2022, pretty much, when everything else started going down. But, this stock, doing the analysis, great long-term potential, less risk associated with it. You're in a slight uptrend or steady uptrend, so overall the stock is favorable. It's been hit hard. As we always talk about, even the best stocks can go down in a down market, and that's why we advocate to follow the market timing to make sure that you're, getting out of your stocks when the market is falling, because, even if it's an amazing company, even that can go down when the overall market goes down. So, therefore, when you add market timing in, you're increasing your probability and increasing your success with that. Yeah, very true. Very true, Drew. I definitely would prefer anything over the cheaper brokerages or the free platforms out there. I prefer having tools that I can use to trade with. So yeah, I think that definitely fits. All right, but looking at DHI, once again, a nice steady rally that we saw off of these lows. From a longer term perspective, as the stock was moving down, what do we see with the MACD over that same time frame? I talk about this a lot. It's one of my favorite chart patterns to look for, but we see the MACD was rising over this time frame as price was falling, setting us up for a bullish divergence and suggesting that downside risk upside potential outweighs downside risk. So when you see that, keep an eye on it, and when you have that trend being broken, which you did right around here or so, it was still early so that's more of an aggressive entry, but now that we're starting to see it hit that buy rating again, now is the time if you are looking to add some exposure to real estate, home builders to your portfolio. Now is the time to consider or keep it on your radar, so when we see the timing tell us it's okay to buy, you can go ahead and jump on board with it. Seeing a few people tuning in or commenting as well over on the Facebook side. Bob, good morning. Hopefully you're doing well. Dwayne from South Dakota. Hopefully you're having a good day, Dwayne. So that's DHI. Let's go on to the next one. KB Homes, another home builder. Now this one, out of the two, personally, I like seeing, let's go ahead and maximize it so you guys can see it better. I like the look on DHI a little bit better than KB, but at the same time, different strokes for different folks. Whatever you guys prefer is going to be what you're going to go with. if you're not comfortable with the stock, or if you're spending more than 30 seconds looking at a stock graph, then most likely you're trying to find a reason to convince yourself to buy that rather than having the stock sell itself to you. And I'll say this, with over 9,200 stocks in the US market, there's no reason to settle for one or try to convince yourself to buy a stock. If it doesn't sell itself to you, simply move on. That's the best advice I could possibly give you when looking at graphs. So looking at this one though, you have this longer steady decline. It hasn't really rallied back as much like we saw with our DHI, but once again, it's exposure and it's hitting that buy rating as of today. It's been, been in that sell to a hold, bouncing around there for a while, and now it's finally starting to transition from a hold to a buy, bouncing around that. And as it continues to strengthen and as it continues to climb higher, we'll see that buy rating become more consistent there. Going on to the next one, MHO. Another one, MACD is steadily rising, starting to pull back a little bit, but overall still in a longer term uptrend. You have this sell-off that we've noticed with pretty much everything over the last 6 months, or last 8 months, I guess, at this point. So these are all going to be opportunities to get in and a lot cheaper than where they were at the beginning of the year. If we zoom out to a 1 year, just to point it out. Looking at it, we gave a confirmed down signal right around November. Forget the exact date, but let's go here. Let's go December 1st. I know it's closer to the end of November, beginning of December, so we're going to go with that date. That's when we got that confirmed down signal. While we did have a quick blip on the radar of it turning back to up for a day or two, our indicators really weren't suggesting anything coming from that. But, if you look at that here, would that have saved you some money getting out following that market timing? This is why you could have gotten out closer to that 60 range and now starting to get back in when it's trading at 45, saving yourself about $45 a share, or $15 a share on the individual stock. This is exactly why, following that market timing and, at least paying attention to it can greatly improve your success and help you avoid these steady long declines that we've had in the market. So that way you can buy back in, keep your powder dry, keep your portfolio, your cash flush. So that way you have more cash to reinvest when the markets start turning around like we're seeing now. Does this work for options trading? So uniquely, I trade options a lot. There's a lot of people in the office, or a lot of instructors like myself that trade options. You can use it for options, but it's not designed for a specific option because there's so many different strikes, contracts, all of that. There's so many different choices to choose from with an option. It's not designed for options trading specifically, but if you have options knowledge, it can greatly increase your performance with those options by helping you find either high flyers, high or fast movers. Also, getting in at the right time, getting out at the right time. Now, it depends on how long you're going out on your expirations, strikes, all of that has into play that this won't take into account. But once again, if you know the options markets, if the fundamentals of options, you can use that with the VectorVest system to help increase your performance. Please drop a gem for a time you realized you understand the strategy of trading. What do you mean drop a gem of a time you realized you I don't think I'm quite following you, Delana, but welcome. Glad to have you here today. All right, so moving on from that, once again, if you want to go back, let's say we liked what we were seeing, finally starting to break out, scroll down here, taking a look at the analysis. Now this one, great long-term potential, less risk than the average stock out there. It's in a pretty strong short-term uptrend, so overall the stock is favorable. If we scroll down a little bit, one thing that we've been looking at in the last few weeks is looking for undervalued stocks as well. Making sure we're getting a bargain rather than overpaying, especially after a sell-off. If a stock is still overvalued, that's not necessarily the greatest sign and tells us we could potentially see it continue to go down. So therefore, we typically favor undervalued stocks. This one has a current value of $62.60 and it's trading at $45.94, telling us this stock is at a bargain right now, or we are getting a discount compared to what the stock should be worth currently. I don't see featured screens on the app or desktop. So Jackie, if you're looking at the desktop, it'll be under the Unisearch tool. But you should see the screener, I believe. I think it's called this, or it'll be under screener there. You should be able to see that. Or if you want help specifically, give our support a call. They'd be glad to help you out there with that as well. All right, so looking at it though, yeah, stock's undervalued, and you can see looking at the exchange in the bottom right-hand corner, if you see an X in the exchange right there, that just simply tells us it's optionable. The stock we're looking at right now is MHO. So once again, for anybody, I see a lot of people just tuning in as well. So once again, if you're in the VectorVest Stock Advisory app, what we did is we clicked on the screener on the left-hand side, or if you're on mobile, it's at the bottom or under the More section, and then simply went to featured screens there. Scroll down, and we're looking at new buy-rated stocks. The reason why we're looking at this is because, once again, we just got that confirmed up signal last week, and these stocks are just hitting that buy rating as of right now, at the time that we're running this here. So therefore, we're finding the stocks that are participating in this market, just trying to increase our probability of success, because when you have the markets moving higher, the stocks moving along with the markets, that puts the probabilities on your side here. And that's really what it comes down to with trading or investing. It's all about having the highest probability of success in your portfolio. What is the name? So that stock, yeah, MHO. But once again, you have KB Homes coming in here. QRTEB. This is one that was showing up in the, I believe, the Jockey Club a few days ago, or in some of our more aggressive searches. But if you look at it, let's go through the analysis. This stock has poor long-term potential. It has a lot of risk associated with it. Looking at the timing though, 2.0, it's in a really strong short-term uptrend. So this is a speculative stock. If you're somebody who's a momentum trader just looking for, or just trying to look at to make a quick buck, more of a technical trader, this could definitely be an interesting one to use. But if you're not, if you're somebody who's more, if you do consider fundamentals, looking for more of a swing trade, longer term trade, this will be one you stay away from. This is why we always talk about, do the analysis of the 4 indicators at the bottom first. Then if you like the analysis there, then take a look at the graph and make sure that meets your liking as well. Yeah, it looks like, sorry VK, it looks like YouTube is having some buffering issues. So I apologize for any issues you guys are having. I'm just getting a notice that YouTube is having some buffering issues right now. So I apologize for that. Unfortunately, I can't control the YouTube side of things. Let's see. The desktop has the add-on for the options trading. Correct. There is the Options Pro software as well. It is a bit more expensive, but once again, it comes down to getting what you're paying for in options. Can easily pay for itself when using options. Yeah, but once again, apologize for that. It does look like YouTube is having some issues. Let's see. Give me a second. Yeah, I have zero drop frames so far. So it's on the YouTube side. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot I can do. Yeah, there's no even options. It just gives you a little message there on my side. So I apologize for that, folks. All right, but this one, once again, QRTEB. If you're a momentum trader, this could be a great candidate to look at. If you're not, this would be one you probably want to stay away from. Yeah, so Maria, once again, let me just type in the chat. All right. So hopefully you guys can read that since since the volume's breaking up for you guys. I do apologize for that though. All right. So with that, if you guys have any questions regarding any of these stocks, feel free to let me know in the chat. Or if you're watching this breaking up worse, unfortunately, there's not a whole lot I could do. But if you are watching this on replay and you ever want help with any of what you're seeing during our live streams, feel free to give our support a call. They'd be glad to help you out, answer any questions, walk you through step by step what we're doing here to be able to get the most use out of this as well. All right, so with that, if you guys have stocks that you want to take a look at, feel free to drop your symbols into the chat. Let's see those. Let's get those going, and we'll analyze any stock in less than 10 seconds. And while you guys are doing that, Miran has a question. Can you explain how the value price is calculated? Yeah, so the value, and this goes into more in-depth analysis in the green book, Stock Strategies and Common Sense. I had a copy around here somewhere. Yeah, it's right behind me. You can't see it. I have the green screen on. But looking at it here, scrolling down, we come to the value. The value is computed from a forecasted earnings per share, forecasted earnings growth, profitability, interest, inflation rates, and a few other things. But it's analyzing the balance sheets and coming up with, based off of that that formula, this is what the stock should be worth at this time. I went away for a minute and then it came back. Yeah, the YouTube message went away for a second and then came back. I think you guys broke the stream today. But yeah, if you have the desktop app, Miran, in the training tab, I believe it is, there's a little green book icon you can click on, Stock Strategies and Common Sense, and you can download the digital copy and read it there. There's a whole chapter based upon value and talking about how we calculate value. So you can, get the math behind that as well. But the main thing to keep in mind is the great thing about VectorVest is it's systematic. We don't have, a group of number crunchers in the back trying to turn out different numbers and trying to evaluate every single stock at every single second. They're all based upon the same formulas. So that way you're comparing apples to apples rather than comparing apples to oranges. So that way, you can use that and get an even comparison or a level playing field, if you will. For swing or day trade, I use Fib and SMA 200. So I don't use Fibonacci's too much because they're more of a suggestion rather than anything else. And a 200-day moving average for a day trade is a little longer than what I'd prefer to see. Typically, I'll stick with stochastics, DPO occasionally, MACD, price I'll use for moving averages, a 3 and 8 exponential moving average. But those are my main indicators I tend to hover around. All right, so we've got a lot of stocks coming in. Let's go ahead and analyze them. As always, if you guys are a member with the Stock Advisory app, whenever you pull up the app, all you have to do is just type on that little magnifying glass in the upper right, and that'll give you the search capability to pull up any stock that you're interested in and analyze it on the go. If you're not a subscriber, click on the link down in the description of today's stream, and you can sign up for a 2-week free trial and put it to the test yourself. All right, so MSFT, Microsoft here, doing the analysis first and foremost. This stock has good long-term potential. It has less risk associated with it. It's in a slight uptrend. Overall, the stock is favorable. Now, from a personal standpoint, I want to see that RT above the level of 1.1. At 1.06, it tells us, yes, it's in an uptrend, but it's basically treading water on a short-term basis. The reason why I want to see 1.1 is because that really starts to identify that point where the stock actually starts to have an identifiable or noticeable uptrend and not just a sideways, slightly higher move that most people would be looking for. So I want to see that RT pick up a little bit more before I really get on board with it. FTNT, there we go. FTNT, good long-term potential, less risk associated with it. However, it's in a sharp decline, down 17% here today. Overall, the stock is not favorable right now. ACLS. And if you guys, it's still showing issues. I do apologize once again for the buffering issues. Unfortunately, not on my side. I have 0 drop frames, so it's completely looking like a YouTube thing right now. And if you guys are still sticking around, I greatly appreciate you guys sticking around through the difficulties that we're experiencing from the YouTube side of things. So thank you all for sticking around if you're here still right now and you guys can hear me out there. All right, ACLS, looking at it, great long-term potential, less risk associated with the stock. It's in a really strong short-term uptrend. Overall, the stock is favorable. We want to do one quick analysis as well, looking at the value. Stock is undervalued, so you're getting a discount on it as well. I like everything we see with that one. CELH. CELH, great long-term potential, less risk associated with it, really strong short-term uptrend. Overall, this stock is definitely favorable. Coming down, stock is grossly overvalued though, so be careful with that. Amazon, sure, we can do AMZN. AMZN, poor long-term potential, but it does have less risk associated with it. The company is making money, that's no surprise there. But, because they throw so much cash back into the company, that does reduce that RV aspect of things. However, on the short-term basis, it is in a nice, strong uptrend. Overall, the stock is favorable. And no issues at all. So, I don't know, Eric. I'm getting a message on my screen right now that's stating YouTube is and now went away. But it was saying YouTube is experiencing a buffering issue. We apologize for any delays or something around those lines. Now it's telling me everything's fine. So who knows? But yeah, overall, like Amazon, like the stock, good long-term potential or poor long-term potential, less risk. So more of a conservative play at this point. Nice strong uptrend. Overall, definitely favorable here. Chris, how's it going? What happened to PRFT? Not sure. Let's go take a look. PRFT, good long-term potential, but a little bit more risk associated with it. You are in a steady decline. Overall, stock's about average. If we tap on those three little dots in the upper right, we can go to the stock news. And then looking at it here, takes us to Yahoo Finance. Earnings miss. Second quarter 2022 results. So yeah, earnings report, and it doesn't seem like the markets are reacting favorably to that earnings report. All right, let's go see what else we got. Box, BOX. BOX, good long-term potential, but does have more risk associated with it, telling us that it is more of an aggressive stock. You have a really strong short-term uptrend, so overall, stock is favorable right now. Looking at the value, stock is currently overvalued, 29 compared to a value of 21. SENS, talked about that one yesterday. I like this stock personally. This stock is a more speculative play. It's a biotech stock, no surprise there, but the tech that they do, for anybody who has or knows anybody who's diabetic or has family members who are diabetic could probably relate to this one. They have a great long-term product for them. But this one, poor long-term potential, a lot of risk associated with it, telling us it is a riskier play. But the timing at 1.4 tells us it does have a pretty strong short-term uptrend. Unfortunately, that uptrend right now still is not strong enough to make the stock favorable overall. Riot, RIOT. Riot, good long-term potential, but a lot of risk associated with it. Really strong short-term uptrend. Overall, stock is favorable. From an aggressive stock standpoint, definitely an interesting one to keep an eye on. DWCPF. There we go. So this one, looks like an ETF. Okay, so with an ETF, VectorVest makes analyzing a basket of ETFs or any ETF easier than anywhere else out there. Because with an ETF, they don't report quarterly earnings, they don't have balance sheets, that sort of thing. So the RV and RS numbers are always going to be pegged at 1. Therefore, all you have to focus on with an ETF is the RT indicator. Once again, it's a short-term price trend. So if it's above 1, the short-term trend of that ETF is up, telling you that ETF is favorable. Below 1 tells us that ETF is unfavorable. So at 1.2, this is definitely a favorable play right now. Coin. I saw some news with Coin right before we got started here today. Looks like they're offering their services to BlackRock, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's what the headline was. I didn't have time to read the article because we were getting ready to go live, but if I'm not mistaken, it was they just announced it. Let's go look at the news actually. Stock news. Scrolling down. Where is it? Oh yeah, BlackRock to offer Bitcoin trading through Coinbase, and that's why we're seeing the stock rocketing here today. So yeah, big news for that one, but this one is a speculative play. Poor long-term potential, a lot of risk associated with it. However, on a short-term basis, it is in a really strong uptrend, mainly being news-driven. So overall, it's favorable for you speculative momentum traders. If you're looking for a longer-term, financially sound play, this is definitely not it. Let's see, IXIC. So that's just the NASDAQ looking at the index. So looking at the index, RT at 1.25 and an uptrend, therefore it's favorable. Tilray, TLRY, there we go. So Tilray, about average long-term potential, a lot of risk associated with it. You're still in a steady decline. Overall, the stock is not favorable. Let's see, WMS. Oh, WMS, there we go. Good long-term potential, a little less risk associated with it. You are in a really strong short-term uptrend, so overall, stock's definitely favorable here. IEP, poor long-term potential, a lot of risk associated with it. You're in a steady short-term uptrend. Would like to see that RT pick up a little bit more for personal preference. So overall, though, the stock is not favorable yet. CCRN, great long-term potential, less risk associated with it. Your timing, though, is pulling back. This has been on a pretty strong uptrend, and what goes up that fast can definitely come down that fast as well, and that's what we're seeing here. Overall, stock is still favorable, but when you have big runs higher, you can expect big runs lower. So keep that in mind. That's why, keep your stops managed on all of your positions. Looking at the news, what's driving it looks like earnings and revenue estimates probably missed if I were to guess, just based on what we're seeing here today. But overall, stock is favorable. Just need to see if it can pick back up and get back on track. How do I get to that overview page? So Rich, that is the home page pretty much. And all you have to do is, wait, which overview page are you looking at? Because if you're looking at it from on the left-hand side, you'll see overview page right there you can click on. MPWR, we'll do a few more here today. MPWR, great long-term potential, less risk associated with it. You're in a really strong short-term uptrend, so overall stock is definitely favorable. Looking at it, stock is overvalued though, so you are paying a premium to own this stock at this time. TBLT, poor long-term potential, a lot of risk associated with it. You're basically flat on the short-term basis. Overall, the stock is not favorable here. CTLT, good long-term potential, less risk associated with it. You're in a steady short-term uptrend. Overall, stock is favorable. UAL, great long-term potential, but does have more risk to get to that long-term potential. You're in a steady decline. Overall, the stock is average at best right now. Sky, SKY. And if you guys are enjoying these, if you guys enjoyed the analysis on your own stock, if you've put one in, I've analyzed it so far, and you haven't already hit that like button, make sure to do so right now. And if you like these, or if you like this stream, you want to see more of it, hit that subscribe button so that way you get notified every time we go live. We have a lot of live content coming out for you on a regular basis, really a daily basis. So being subscribed will help you stay on top and get these streams that we do and get the other content that we have for you first before anybody else out there. So make sure to do that if you haven't done so already. All right, looking at Sky. Sky, good long-term potential, less risk associated with it, really strong short-term uptrend. Overall, the stock is favorable. Scrolling down, stock is also still undervalued at this stage. We'll do LPG and then on as well. So LPG, you have poor long-term potential. You have a lot of risk associated with it. You're in a steady decline. Overall, the stock is not favorable. And last but not least, we'll do one more. ON. So good long-term potential, less risk associated with it. You're in a really strong short-term uptrend. Overall, the stock is favorable. Taking a look at it, also, stock is still undervalued right now. So you are still getting a bargain on this stock currently. All right, so let's jump back into the overview or the home page here. And quickly recapping, what we can see is the Dow is still down about 1/3%. NASDAQ down about 1/3 as well. Same as the S&P. VectorVest Composite still down about 0.2%. So the major indices really have not gone anywhere since we started our session here or about an hour ago. Most stocks are downtrend. Any idea why? I mean, Albert, I wouldn't read one day doesn't make a trend. Overall, the markets have been steadily moving higher. Stocks have been steadily moving higher. Having a slight pullback here today doesn't really concern me. We're not seeing the markets dropping 5, 6, 7% in a day. So nothing really too alarming. Just, slight cool down after we've had some pretty big runs this week. So, gotta give and take a little bit there. So yeah, looking at it though, the major indices still slightly in the red. With the volatility that we've seen though, if the market starts reversing, starts moving higher, they could easily get back into the green in a matter of minutes here. So we'll keep an eye on those. As always, let the market trend be your guide throughout the market. Don't try to predict anything. Let the trend be your friend. And also, if I didn't get to analyze your stocks today, I do apologize. We've had a lot of new faces here today, a lot of stocks to analyze. If you are a subscriber, just simply pull up the Stock Advisory app, tap on that little magnifying glass in the upper right, type in your stocks, and you can do the same analysis that we just did here. If you're not a subscriber, click on the link down in the description of today's video and sign up for the 2-week free trial and put it to the test, because as the old saying goes, seeing is believing. So looking at it though, the market's still neutral. Therefore, VectorVest still advocates caution when buying stocks at this time. Scrolling down a little bit more, RT staying flat from where we last looked at it. Buy to sell ratio actually improving a little bit from where we last looked at it. MTI is flat. Price of the VectorVest Composite staying flat as well. Scrolling down to the very bottom, taking a look at the advanced declines, still not a whole lot of change. Advances are sitting at about 45% of stocks moving higher, whereas 43% of stocks are moving lower currently. So still pretty much right at that 1-to-1, slightly favoring the advances, slightly pulling away from that, but not enough to really, give us any signs of, a new uptrend starting to form here. But definitely keep an eye on that. And then we got Eng Schumann. Welcome to the VV Nation. Glad to have you here. Hopefully you're doing well here today. All right, so on that's going to do it for me today. If you guys enjoyed today's stream and you haven't already, smash that like button. Go ahead and do so now. Also, we have Glenn Tompkins, a fellow senior instructor like myself, coming live at 2 p.m. Eastern Day with Trending Thursday to talk about all the major headlines that are impacting the markets. And so therefore, what's really driving things. So if you want to know, what the major headlines you need to be aware of that are driving the markets, then hang out with Glenn at 2 o'clock. And, if you're nice to him, he may even sing for you. But you have to be extremely nice to him. So go see him. Go check him out at 2 o'clock this afternoon, either on our Facebook or on our YouTube channel as well. So that's going to do it for me. Thank you very much for everybody tuning in here today. Thank you all who are sticking around during those YouTube technical issues. I'm glad we got those resolved. Whatever was going on, they fixed it. So glad to see it. So thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for sticking around. And until next time, take care, adios, and toodles.